Hey, have you ever heard the phrase cause and effect? Like, it's basically when one thing happens and it causes the other thing to happen. For example, cause. Hey, my mom's in a great mood today. The effect, I'm totally going to ask her for a new Xbox game, right? Cause, my teacher sprung an unexpected assignment on us on Monday. Effect, my weekend's over. I have to work on that now. Cause, man, I look like a hot mess today. Effect, I'm going to have to totally try out that new filter on my iPhone. Cause, we played a terrible game last night. Effect, coach is going to make us run and work even harder. You see the cause and the effect. Something happens and it causes something else to happen. Here's what's funny for me, and I'm sure and I'm guessing this is true for you. When I experience something, then the effect is great. I'm the first one to say, hey, I am the reason why this great thing happened. Now, I may not say it out loud, but I totally hype myself up and think, hey, it's me. But on the flip side, if something goes wrong, and I'm 0% likely to say, hey, my bad, it's me. No, I'm more likely to blame it on COVID, or I'm going to blame it on my kids or the weather or my cat or someone on social media who put me in a bad mood because they're spouting off all this nonsense. You see, in life, sometimes, a lot of times, we all mess up. We slip up, we make mistakes, we drift away from what we know we're supposed to do, and the effect, we lose influence. And sometimes we lose influence in a big way. I remember this with my biological father. He was a functional alcoholic, basically. And one thing we had in common is we would play golf. And I remember one day we were on hole 17 coming in, and he was completely drunk. And I got mad at him, and I said, you know what? I was able to drive at this time, and I said, I come to spend time with you, not the can in your hand. I'm gone. And for 2 years, I didn't speak to him. Now, God convicted me as a Christ follower that the influence I had in his life, I no longer had it because I wasn't there. And after 2 years, I wrote him a letter and I said, I don't know where you are, I don't know what you're doing, but I just want to say I'm sorry. Because all this time I've told you that Jesus loves you, but somewhere along the way I forgot to show you that he loved you. I was able to restore a relationship before my biological father took his own life, but there for a period of time I lost influence. You see, we make a big mistake, and what happens is maybe it involves something stupid that we did and everybody found out about, or involves our family, and whatever we did that was the cause, the effect is that people who looked up to us, they take a step back. Maybe the ones who listen to us, they turn down the volume. And with the adults, you get that disappointed look on the adult's face. And even the people who were normally quick to hang out with us, maybe they are suddenly busy. See, sometimes this happens even in a small way over time. Maybe it wasn't just one huge decision, it was a series of small decisions that changed our friend groups, that one time, hung out with all the times, and now they see us differently, or we feel like they see us differently. You see, here's an important truth we have to grab. How we treat people can increase or decrease the effect we have on the lives of others. That's right. How we treat people, it can increase or decrease the effect that we have on the lives of others. You see, over time, if the interactions are negative, people could stop trusting us. They could stop wanting to be around us. And as a result, we can lose our positive effect slowly over time. Before we even realize it, relationships have changed. We can end up feeling like we can never get back what we lost. And here's the thing. Losing influence happens to all of us. Happened to me, happens to you, because we're not perfect. We make decisions that create distance between us and other people all the time. And when that happens, nearly all of us tell ourselves the same thing. That's it. Story's over. I messed up. I did something stupid. And people are going to find out. And so we make the choice. We decide to not go to church, or we decide to stay quiet in our small groups, or not even go to a small group or jump into a Zoom small group. We begin to ghost our friends and other adults who are trying to help us by not answering their text messages or just deleting them. And it turns out, and more often than not, 1 week turns into 2 weeks turns into 2 months, and before you know it, we're telling ourselves, well, I used to go to church, or I used to follow the things of Jesus, but because I have lost influence, I'm not going to have that type of influence or be the person who changes someone's life, because I just have become someone different. especially in this season of COVID, it's difficult. And it's difficult to get some of that influence back because it's so easy to distance ourselves. Maybe for some of you, you're saying, I once was a person who had a positive effect on people. When we're talking about the U effect, and you may be saying, that's just not who I am anymore. If that's you, I'm talking specifically to you tonight. You aren't the first to feel this way. The Bible is full of people who had positive influence, who lost it, and they felt certain their story was over. This week, we're going to look at a woman whose influence nearly hit rock bottom. In her culture, women already had less influence than men. They were already seen as property, and people believed they had very little value. And in this case, the woman made some pretty bad decisions that led her to lose what little influence she had. But her encounter with Jesus was recorded by Luke, a physician and a researcher who spent time with people who knew Jesus and oftentimes wrote down their stories. And so in Luke chapter 7, verse 36, we see this particular account that begins with a dinner invitation. And it says this, now one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, so he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. Now, for context, the Pharisees were Jewish leaders, you know this, who were dedicated to following the Jewish religious law. And because of that, get this, they were confident that they had a positive effect on others. They were so confident that they looked down on others who seemed to have less influence. Now, with that in mind, here's what happened next. Luke 7, 37 through 38 says, when a woman who had led a sinful life in that town learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house, she brought an alabaster jar of perfume. And as she stood behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. She wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. Now, this may sound totally weird, but foot washing was a common action that happened in this day. Imagine spending all day walking around the dirty streets, the dirt road in sandals, and everyone's feet, I mean, they would be nasty, like a junior high boy level nasty. So it wasn't unusual to wash your feet, wash someone's feet when coming into someone's house. Now, what was different was this woman was used to washing with water, but an expensive jar of perfume is what she used to clean the feet of Jesus. For her, it was an act of worship. And the Pharisees, of course, had some thoughts about it. Luke 7:39, this is what they thought. And when the Pharisee who had invited them saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. See, the thing is, the Pharisee had Jesus all wrong. He thought Jesus would back away from being touched by such a sinful woman, when in reality, this was exactly the kind of people that Jesus was drawn to, and the kind of people drawn to Jesus. Jesus actually preferred it this way. People with no influence were drawn to Jesus. People who were sinners were drawn to Jesus. People who had negatively affected other people were drawn to Jesus. And this woman knew that she had a bad reputation and no influence and no respect, especially within this group. And that's what drove her straight to the feet of Jesus. Her appreciation for Jesus was fueled by her own inadequacy. She didn't hide from Jesus because she didn't measure up. Instead, she got close to him and she worshiped him. See, story's not over. Luke 7, 41 through 48. And he turned to the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house, and you did not give any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman who from the time I have entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her sins have been forgiven, for she has loved much. But he who has been forgiven little loves little. Then Jesus said to her, your sins are forgiven. Simon looked at this woman and probably saw her as nothing, but when Jesus looked at her, he saw something completely different. He saw potential, he saw purpose, this positive effect for her future. See, up until this point, the cause and effect for this woman, it looked like this. Cause, she was a sinner. Effect. People looked down on her and thought negatively about her. But this was the case for Jesus. Jesus saw her. Cause. Jesus saw her and loved her. Effect. Jesus forgave her and gave her a new start. See, no matter what you've done or how bad of a person you think you are or how people may see you because of what you've done, you are loved by Jesus. And you are free to love him back. You don't need to get it together. You don't have to make up for everything and try to be good until you can hang out with Jesus. In fact, what's incredible about Jesus is this encounter with the woman is afterwards, she had more influence than she could ever imagine. To be clear, her story has been told and she has been used as an example of faith for thousands of years. And her effect, her you effect, may have once almost cost her everything. But it became bigger than she could ever imagine. Because of her decision, decided to take a step towards Jesus. Her story was redeemed through Jesus. Her lost influence, lost reputation, and lost standing, it wasn't lost forever. Think of it this way. Because of Jesus, we can change the effect we have on others. Just like the woman in this story who makes mistakes, don't have to erase the potential for a positive effect. Jesus has always been about new starts and do-overs. Maybe you're sitting there and you're feeling today that you relate to this story. I mean, not the extreme sinful part that the lady experienced, but there's parts of your story where you feel like you've made some decisions that you totally regret. Or maybe you feel like you've made decisions that have caused you to lose influence among the people around you. Sure, yeah, God forgives, but people can still talk and they'll still talk about you, right? Either way, there's some steps you can take. First is reflect. Ask yourself, what small steps or what big decisions are leading me to have a negative effect on others? Is it how you speak to other people? Or are you too harsh or sarcastic with your responses? Maybe you're making impulsive decisions that are borderline reckless. Maybe you're lying to the people who are closest to you. Or maybe you're just pretending to be someone you're not. Whatever it is, take some time. Be honest, maybe causing the you effect to not be so good. So reflect. Second is confess. If there are choices that have led you to have this negative effect on other people, talk to God. Say, God, save me from this mess. Take ownership. Say it's my fault. Just like the woman at the dinner party, we can approach Jesus no matter what other people think of us, no matter what they say. He isn't surprised. He isn't mad. He's quick to forgive. And he accepts you and accepts me just the way we are. He sees us exactly as we are, people made in his image with incredible potential. You may want to talk to an adult about your past decisions as well. That's why we have small group leaders who are ready to meet with you in your Zoom communities every week. You just have to join in and show up. They want to be a safe place for you to say anything, to talk about things, and they'll know what to do next. And sometimes there are steps that have to be taken. You see, rebuilding trust and rebuilding this you effect takes time, but it takes you being intentional, and your leader can help you. Lastly, identify. Identify a specific step you can take to move in the right direction. You can rebuild trust after a negative effect that you've had on people. You just have to trust what Jesus is doing in you. But it may take some steps. It may take some steps of you apologizing to someone you've mistreated or you've lied to. Maybe change the way you speak to people. Be aware of how you speak to people. Maybe asking someone to check in with you, remind you about some of the decisions that you're making. So as you're thinking about these things, remember, because of Jesus, we can change the effect we have on others. Understand something. Lost influence doesn't have to be lost forever. We can take the you effect from positive to negative. We can take it back from negative to positive, especially if we're feeling like we need a fresh start. And when that happens, when we're all tempted, and we're all, find ourselves in places that we don't really want to be, and we feel like the story is over, it's not. Because Jesus makes it clear. Nobody in the room gets to say the story is over, but him. And when we take the step towards him, he invites us to get up instead of give up and to change the you effect that you have one step at a time. My prayer for you guys is that you would step into this you effect and push past all the negative things, push even the negative things you've caused on your own and the negative things brought on by other people. And that you would realize the influence and the impact that God is calling you to have on people around you right now. He is the one that's saying the story is not over. He wants to use you to have a big impact, especially in today's world. I invite you to jump in, to join in to what God is wanting to do around you, with you, and through you. So don't forget, jump into a Zoom community this week. If you don't have one, contact me. Let me know. You can just email me or you can text message me, 936-577-2536, and say, hey, BJ, I need to be a part of a digital community, a Zoom group. We'll get you plugged into one. Don't forget, we've got some things coming up. There is a pool party on July 9th that you're welcome, you and your family are welcome to come to. There's more information about that on our website, uhbc.net. I also want to remind you, inform you, July 15th, okay, so that is a Wednesday night. We're going to begin meeting again on Wednesday nights from 7 to 7:45 in the fire pit area. We'll have a stage set up, we'll have some worship, we'll have teaching time, we'll have some activities, we'll practice social distancing, we'll do some things. We just get to be together. We will have to be aware and monitor some of the things that are still going on with COVID, but we just want to have time where we get to meet all together. So beginning July 15th, Wednesday nights, we will start having them 7 to 7:45, the fire pit area, where we can all meet together and be outside. You'll need to bring your own chair so that you can sit. We'll have to space you guys out a little bit, but we'll try to be interactive and do some creative things that we can do outside. Hey, I just want to let you guys know, Holly and I love you. We miss you. We're still looking forward to what we can do and understanding there are some things that we can't do. But I hope you have a great week. Understand the you effect that God has called you to show this week, this month. It's important. And it's important for you to have this influence on other people. Your story is not over. God wants to use you just like he wants to use me. Hope you have a great week. We love you. We're praying for you.